things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner, is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Ripon Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Ripon Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Multiverse broadcasting system initiated.
Hello.
Lasers.
Multiverse connection established.
Hello.
Multiverse connection secure.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
This is My Life DIY, and
Hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Ash.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Ripon Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to Dark Wolf's Den.
The Dark Wolf's Den Show on Ripon Common Sense Radio.
Are ghosts real?
We had 1,000 hours of continuous communication with the spirit world.
Does time travel actually exist?
The laws of physics seem to be compatible with time machines.
You know, sometimes I wonder about reincarnation. Don't you?
A 4-year-old boy in Adelaide, Australia, has told his parents that he used to be Britain's Princess Diana.
What would happen if the world found out that aliens were real?
I didn't say disclosure would be easy, but what is the alternative?
To establish a space force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
We have so many questions and yet so little time, so to have you here, the pleasure is all mine.
Coming to you from a secret cave, hidden deep within the wilderness. This is the Dark Wolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live across the multiverse from a secret cave hidden deep within the wilderness of Tennessee. That's right. We're ripping through the electromagnetic soup, tearing through the atmosphere, and tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the Dark Wolf's Den Show for Thursday, September the 9th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are going to cover the topic of sea monsters. With Hawaii being the topic last night, we didn't really touch on many sea monsters in the cryptids section. However, tonight we're going to cover sea monsters from around the world, and you may be as surprised as I am to find out how many there really are. All that and more coming up tonight, September 9th, 2021, on the Dark Wolf's Den Radio Show. But first, let's check over here in the chat and see who has joined in so far tonight. Hey everybody, we've got Terry Taggart says, can't wait. I am so glad to hear that you are excited for the show, Terry. We got Raider Champion over there. Welcome, Raider Champion, reporting on the game, I'm assuming is what that is. Looks like football jargon. Sandy B, hey, y'all made it. Hey, Sandy B, glad to see that you are here. And who else we got here? Alva Yarder, glad to see you, Alva. Always a pleasure to have you here. X Jen says, evening, all evening, X Jen. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for stopping in. Are you working tonight? I know you're usually listening while you're working or on break. Glad to have you here, bud. Over in the Dark Wolf's Den Show radio chat. By the way, that was over on the Ripon Rabbit Hole YouTube chat, by the way. Over on the Dark Wolf's Den Show YouTube, we have JoJo's waving in, dropping a variety of sea monster type creatures. I love that. It goes right along with our theme tonight. Tommy Apple says, howdy, y'all. Howdy, Tommy. Glad to have you here, my friend. Michael Fontaine showing up in the chat there right at the end. Waited for my phone to charge so I can hear this. All right. I am so glad the phone finally got charged. What amazing timing. And we are going to cover a variety of fun stuff tonight. I cannot wait to show you what I have found. Like I said a moment ago, we didn't get to a lot of sea monsters last night. And as a regret, I decided, you know what, we're definitely going to get into the sea monsters tonight. So I hope you guys are ready for a very fun exploration of this topic. It is both an honor and a pleasure to have every last one of you guys here. Whether you are in the YouTube chat rooms on the Ripon Rabbit Hole or the Dark Wolf's Den Show YouTube, or you're listening around the world on your radio, we sincerely appreciate you. Now let's go ahead and dig into tonight's show, but before we do, we've got a couple little fun segments to get out of the way. Today in history. On this day in 1956, Elvis Presley appears on the Ed Sullivan Show for the first time. That's right, folks. That was on this day in 1956, and that is today's Today in History. Everybody knows we love Elvis here on this channel. Being a Tennessean myself, I definitely have a special spot for the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. That's right. Before we dig into the monsters of the deep, we've got one more segment to do.
Say what?
Our quote of the day today comes from poet and playwright John Dryden. He says, and I quote, "Beware the fury of a patient man," end quote. And with the social climate as it is today, I thought that only quite fitting to put out there, because I am one of the most patient men in the world until given a reason not to be, right? So beware the fury of a patient man. That is today's segment of
Say What?
Oh, and how true those words do ring, right? Speaking of true, a lot of people argue whether or not sea monsters and lake monsters are true or fake, right? But you can only get so many piles of evidence before the question goes away. How many grains of sand does it take to make a beach? We all know about Loch Ness Monster, and many of us have also heard of Champy, and that's usually about the only ones we really hear about on the regular. However, you would be surprised, like I said in the beginning, to find out exactly how many lake and sea monsters there are. Since we already started with Tennessee, my home state, we're going to jump back to the state I just came from a little while ago, the great state of Idaho, and their lake monster.
It's known colloquially as the paddler. So let's go ahead and let's talk about all the fascinating information associated with this lake-type U.S. monster. So what is this paddler? Well, again, it's a lake monster that's found in the United States, specifically in Idaho, and very specifically at a lake called Lake Pend Oreille. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Lake Pend Oreille. And this is a pretty unique lake for several reasons. First, just a brief history as far as the lake in of itself. It's actually one of the largest lakes within the United States, the largest one there within the state of Idaho, and if you consider at least its almost unfathomable deepness that it has, it goes at a maximum up to 1,150 feet deep in certain regions. It makes it the fifth deepest one within the United States.
Little known fact, this lake is used for military submarine training.
So think of it this way. If the U.S. can absolutely use this location to delve some super secret type of submarine trips or submarine descents and have no one else be the wiser, you could totally imagine like a monster, a lake type monster, be within the same body of water and have that super secrecy as well.
So this lake is so big that something could hide there for a very long time and no one ever be the wiser is what he's getting at. Just like the submarines that have went up and down there for a long time.
Now, as far as the creature in of itself, let's talk about those characteristics. It's imagine your average Loch Ness type monster, like down to the color, down to the size. It's measured apparently at over 20 feet long. It undulates above and then below the water as it swims. In fact, various eyewitnesses have stated that it likes to just go slightly above and then go slightly below whenever it comes across the lake in of itself. In other words, when it's crossing certain areas of the lake. And then apparently it has a very deep, like grayish tone to it, which also makes sense because at least from a distance, it would absolutely blend into the scenery surrounding it, as opposed to, let's say, having like a shocking white color or any type of yellow color. Anything like that would just totally not work as far as staying with out of sight.
So we know that this lake actually has submarine training from the military. And we know this lake has a lake monster. So what do you guys think? Do you think they are misidentifying a sub, or do you think it really is a lake monster in Lake Pend Oreille? One in the chat room if you think it is absolutely a real lake monster, one of many in the world, or put a 2 in the chat room if you think it's a submarine, or put a 3 in the chat room if it could be, but you're not really sure. And with that said, we're going to move on to our next sea monster. Now, this one is also in Idaho, so we're going to be staying on that side of the country for now.
The Bear Lake Monster. So what is this Bear Lake Monster? Well, it's a cryptid of sorts that's encountered there in Bear Lake, which is right on the Utah-Idaho border. So I've never been there, but it grew from mythology, if you can believe it. I mean, this is a being that has been around for a long time, at least over 100 plus years.
And I fully believe a lot of myths are truth, if not based heavily upon truth.
And with regards to it, here's how it's characterized. Basically, think of it like your average alligator, except much longer, much larger, about 40 feet long to be exact, with very short, powerful legs, but most importantly, of course, is its mouth, its gigantic maw, which it uses to essentially try to track down and hunt its prey around that Bear Lake. And there have been victims, according to the lore associated with this Bear Lake monster. Any unlucky swimmers that happen to be abound, anybody else that's just pretty much by the shore, because apparently this Bear Lake monster can actually come up on the shore just like an alligator would, snatch its victims, and then go back into the water.
Now that is more than incredibly creepy. Not only are you not safe in the lake, but you're not safe on the shore either. But speaking of being safe, let's see what you guys said about the safety of Lake Pendoriel. Was it a submarine with a 2? Was it a real lake monster with a 1? Or was it an unsure with a 3? Let's see what you guys said over there in the chat. We've got Raider Champion with the 1.8. I am really not good with these fractions, but he's not as convinced, I don't think. Leaning more towards hoax, it looks like to me, almost to that 2. Terry Taggart with a 3 on the fence over there. Great to see you, Terry. You stay on the fence quite a bit. I love it. Always good to have an open thinker. Not sure, but always want more information. Alva Yarder with the 1 over there. Absolutely was a sea monster in Lake Pendoriel. Sandy B with a 1.5. Pretty sure, leaning towards hoax, but pretty sure. Terry Taggart, I've got all the volumes up about as loud as I can get them without messing up the entire system here. So if it's low volumes, I do sincerely apologize. I'm not sure what the issue would be there. Perhaps your device may be having an issue. X-Gen with the 1. Sandy B's State of Idaho is the next state in the DWD series. You're absolutely right. Next Wednesday we are doing the State of Idaho. 3. I'm confused half the time. We need pictures. The problem is you can't do pictures on radio. They call that television, right? Quentin Danto with a 3. Unsure also. Always gotta love the open-minded thinkers. Not quite sure, not quite unsure over there in the Ripon rabbit hole chat. Volume very low, video volume loud. I don't even know what to do about that one. Like I said, I've got all the volumes up about as good as I can get them without blowing the system out over here. Dark Wolf's Den Show over there. Yeah, I'm definitely messing it up right there. Okay. Dark Wolf's Den Show over there. Chat says, JoJo says, a 1. Absolutely a sea monster. My Life coming in with the, looks like the dancing squid over there. Love it. Looks like it was doing the dab, right? Is that what they call that dance? I don't know. I'm a little old. Kind of showing my age here. My Life also there with the 1. Absolutely a sea monster. And of course, now we're talking about the Bear Lake monster. And just a little bit more information about him before we move on to our next one.
Well, then you have the stories associated with it. It has a grayish, greenish type color. And then its head, one looks at it carefully, is supposed to resemble that of an alligator. That's what I was mentioning earlier. Essentially, it's just your average alligator. It seems just much larger.
So now we've went from the snake-like creature over to the alligator-like creature. So these do sound like 2 different types of creatures to me. So we've got another one on the list here, another serpent-like creature called Pressy. This one is out of Lake Superior.
It's known as Pressy. So let's go ahead and let's talk about all the fascinating information associated with this lake-type monster. Isn't that quite a name, Pressy? No, it automatically brings you to the other well-known cryptid or monster, in that case being Nessie. So I'm wondering if the two are essentially related to one another. But yes, as far as the information of Pressy, here you go. So apparently this is a lake-type monster that is found in Lake Superior here in the United States. Lake Superior is a very, very large body of water. It's a very large lake. In fact, it is the world's largest, at least by surface area, and then of course it's connected in some ways at least to the other Great Lakes as well.
And with that much space to live, eat, and thrive, it's hard to argue that one could not exist in such a lake.
And then also, if you wanted to go even to either further details as to its schematics, and then as far as its own physical characteristics, it's this. It's pretty much just your average lake-type monster. So think of Nessie or think of anyone else that looks like a Loch Ness-type monster, and that's what you have here. It's about 75 feet in length, although I was reading on another area that it was quoted at being over 80 feet in length. It has a horse-like head, a set of teeth that are jutting from the front area. So this is definitely like a carnivore of sorts. It's not going to be eating plants, in other words. And then it has a very, very long neck. And then it has its classic fins that you would normally find on lake-type monsters, and then also it has a tail as well. Although this tail, interestingly enough, is linked to a whale instead of, let's say, being another type of fin. So if you see something that looks like the end of a whale there at Lake Superior, then chances are you're running into Pressy as well. And then as far as its color, it looks like it has a grayish type hue associated with it, although I was reading in yet another area that it seems to be also having like a darker brown, something along those lines. This is interesting too because the way it moves.
Although I have never heard of Nessie being described with a horse's face, that still wouldn't be way out of the realm of possibility, right? This sounds like a American cousin of Nessie. And we went over a couple so far tonight, and the fact that there's even this many just in lakes in the United States is both concerning and intriguing at the same time.
Reminds people of a snake. And so what I mentioned is this: people that have seen this creature swim within the waters say that it looks just like a snake would. Snakes have that darker hue as well, that darker brown or darker gray, and so it would be it would be almost invisible within the water, at least from the top side.
Which actually makes a lot of sense because, once again, nature. We know nature provides many different types of camo and defensive mechanisms for all creatures. Whether it's camo or other defenses. So the ability to blend into the water is very much a natural selection type thing from nature itself. It makes a lot of sense that they would have this particular defense mechanism.
And then the way they see it move, the only time you would rarely actually see it is because you see something undulating, is what I heard one description of a person describe it, and then also you would see it move in, again, a snake-like fashion. Makes you wonder if that fin that it has that's very, very similar to a whale, how that comes into play, because I don't think whales move along those lines, right, when it comes to being like a snake. But still, this is a one-off creature. It's definitely unique among its own. We're talking about another Nessie or another Lake Loch Ness type monster.
And again, this is really not out of the realm of possibility for me. As a matter of fact, after knowing the Nessie story for so long, as well as the story of Champy here in the United States, it looks like we've got a large variety of sea creatures in the lakes of the states. And I know that I've called this sea monsters. I promise we will get into the ocean shortly. But before we do, let me go ahead and ask you guys what you think. Do you think that Pressy is yet another cryptid Nessie-type creature that is living in the Great Lakes of Michigan? This particular one living in Lake Superior, I think it was. Or do you think that it is yet one of many more hoaxes or misidentified snakes or logs or whatever the case may be? Go ahead and put a 1 in the chat room if you think this is one of many sea creatures in lakes across the U.S. Go ahead and put a 2 in the chat room if you think this is yet another hoax of some type. And put a 3 in the chat room if you're really just not sure either way. While we are waiting for those to come in, we have one more lake monster to cover in the first half.
It's known as Old Greeny. So let's go ahead and let's talk about all the fascinating information associated with this Loch Ness serpentine-like creature. So what is this Old Greeny? Well, apparently it's a creature, again, a Loch Ness type 1, that's associated there in New York, specifically at an area near Cayuga Lake.
So now we have moved from the west around Idaho in that area through the Great Lakes and into New York.
So those of you, again, that happen to be near that lake, those of you that know that name by heart, who knows, you may have a chance of running into this creature sometime in the future. But yes, Cayuga Lake is actually part of another set of lakes known as Finger Lakes. The reason for it is because they literally look like fingers, almost like somebody dragged their fingers across the land itself and left these almost longish type lakes within them. They're actually glacial lakes that have remaining water within them, but Cayuga Lake happens to be the longest one there. I'll talk about more about another lake here in just a minute that could also house Old Greeny as well. As far as the characteristics of Old Greeny, unfortunately, there's not much associated with it. Its sightings have been very, very rare, even though it's been around for quite some time. Apparently, the earliest known tracings back into the 1800s, the late 1800s, in other words, there just haven't been too many descriptions of it. But when I was reading this information, I just easily pictured your classic token Loch Ness type creature, something involving a long serpentine body. Who knows how long it is altogether? And the fact that it's called Old Greeny gives you an idea essentially what its color would be. You could only imagine its skin being a very, very greenish hue. Definitely stands out within the water, maybe even from far away as well. And then who knows what else it has with it in terms of stuff like scales associated with it, or maybe even spikes as well. You just take your pick when it comes to these serpentine-like creatures. Although in one instance, it seems like it had a very long set of sharp teeth that are tied to it as well, at least based on an encounter that I'll talk about again here in just 1 minute. But yeah, it's found there in Cayuga Lake, and what's interesting is that this lake is about 40 miles long, so it definitely has a very good chance of remaining hidden throughout this entire time. Not only that, but it's over 400 feet deep as well.
So again, it is not going to be hard for a creature of that magnitude to both thrive and live very comfortably.
One of the earliest known instances, at least of it being reported, was in 1897. So how about that? A good time period away there in the Ithaca Journal. There on January 5th, 1897, one of the reporters there stated that some of the staff there had been living almost in anticipation of Old Greeny's appearance. Apparently they were there nearby that lake, and some of them were so fearful of Old Greeny's appearance that they actually rejected assignments that would take them near the edge of the water because they wanted to make sure that they didn't run into this creature here. So you would think that at that point during that time period there were probably more sightings tied to Old Greeny, but again, because of the 1800s, and then again not being too much technology to essentially post this here and there and site recordings, I imagine a lot of that just basically got lost in time. But otherwise, that was one of the earliest known instances.
So we have yet another serpentine-like sea creature living in a lake in the United States. It's becoming pretty evident through this episode that that is not a rarity anymore, but more of a commonplace thing, right? It's like all the deep lakes have some type of sea monster or creature. But let's go ahead and check in the chat and see what you guys said about Pressy. So we've got over here in the Ripon Rabbit Hole chat, where we at? Raider Champion. Wow, I got way lost up here. You guys have really been typing. I love it. Raider Champion says 3, very unsure about Pressy. Tommy Apples with a 1. Terry Taggart with 3. I would need to chat with those people myself. Haha, yeah, right? Definitely easier to make a judgment on a case file when you have that available, right? Michael Fontaine agreeing with a 3. Also, Sandy B, 3, not sure either. Terry Taggart says the Finger Lakes are yuck. The Finger Lakes need to wash their hands. Okay, yeah, that was bad. I know. That's all I could come up with. X-Gen 3, only because I had to make an order. Okay, look, I missed part of it. I don't know. 3. That's honesty right there. I love it. Terry Taggart saying, hey, Earth Daughter. Hey, Earth Daughter, glad to have you here. Glad you were able to make it. You're missing a good lesson on sea cryptid creatures, but we're glad you were able to make it in here. Tommy Apples, New York has a park called Eternal Flame Falls. There's a flame coming up out of the waterfall. Scientists say there shouldn't be. Gas in and around, and it's an anomaly, so I believe in the beast. You know what? As many anomalies are in this world, the beasts aren't that far-fetched after a while, right? Over in the Dark Wolf's Den Show chat room, JoJo says, stay out of the large lakes of the USA. I think that is a good lesson that we can take from this show. Stay out of the large lakes of the USA, right? At least the deep ones, right, where they can hide. I guess if you aren't going down too far, maybe it won't be a problem. My Life DIY with the 3. JoJo's with the 2 on Pressy. No, Pressy is a hoax, she says. That's definitely not. My Life on the fence with the 3 on Pressy. JoJo says Old Greeny is a maybe, though. Old Greeny is a definite maybe. Dark Horse 108. Hey, Jerry. Hey, Dark Horse. Glad you were able to join us also. And it looks like we are pretty much out of time for the first half, but there is a lot more rabbit hole to explore in the topic of sea creatures. But we've got to go ahead and take a network break right here, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you're listening to the Dark Wolf's Den Radio Show exclusively on Ripon Common Sense Radio Network. The Ripon Rabbit Hole. We'll be right back with the second half after these messages. Don't you touch that dial. That's right.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Oh yeah, Jerry Hicks and the Dark Wolf's Den Radio Show, Sea Monsters. Are you enjoying it so far? I know I am. If you are and you haven't done so already, please make sure to thumb up that video, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live. We're here every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, bringing you the very best of common sense radio, the Ripon Rabbit Hole. I'll return again tomorrow night, Friday, September 10th. Come along with me as we dive deep down the rabbit hole in exploration of the coincidence theory. Starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as all shows do. We're going to look at very interesting coincidences that have happened throughout time. Not conspiracy theory. No. This is coincidence theory. Tomorrow night, Friday, September 10th. Then Saturday Night Live, September 11th. Come along with me as we remember the 20th anniversary of the day the world changed, 9/11. We'll take a look and reflect on the events that led up to it and the events that took place after it. That's Saturday, September 11th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then we'll end out the weekend right together, Sunday night, September 12th, with a look at animal politics. We'll take a visit to the animal farm of elected officials that you will not want to miss, and that will end out the weekend right together with you. Sunday, September 12th, an amazing weekend of broadcasts ahead. If you haven't done so already, please hop on over to riponrabbithole.com. That's RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. There you can sign up for your exclusive Backstage Pass. It's going to give you unfiltered access down the rabbit hole where the conversation continues. Now, I told you last month we're going to be releasing some really cool things in the month of September. Those things are still coming, so you want to make sure that you're a part of that release. If you haven't done so already, sign up for that free Backstage VIP pass. It's going to give you all of those updates as they come in and as they occur. It's absolutely free to do so. It always will be. We don't sell, share, or give away your email address, so you can feel comfortable doing so. And I invite you to come on over and join our community-generated press. If you've got something to share, that's what Down the Rabbit Hole is for. You can even release your own press statements and share images and graphs and stories. I know Jerry Hicks put up a big story today about the Convention of States. You can find more at riponrabbithole.com. Sign the petition for the Convention of States. Speaking of Jerry Hicks, we'll return to the Dark Wolf's Den radio show, Sea Monsters, for Thursday, September 9th, 2021. You're listening to the Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, the Ripon Rabbit Hole.
Reestablishing multiverse connection. Connection reestablished and secure.
This is My Life DIY, and
Hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Ash.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Ripon Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to Dark Wolf's Den.
The Dark Wolf's Den Show on Ripon Common Sense Radio.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the Dark Wolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to the second half of the Dark Wolf's Den Show for Thursday, September the 9th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us tonight, we are going over sea creatures and monsters. So far, we have covered a large variety of lakes within the United States, but now we're going to move out a little bit further into the ocean. But before we dig back into this topic, I have something I would really like to request from you guys. You guys know I love grassroots movements, as we are here at the Ripon Rabbit Hole, also a grassroots movement. And we also know that this country here in America is in a load of trouble right now with the current climate and situation that we have at hand. So I implore everyone, if you are sick of what's going on in this country and sick of the things this administration is doing and this Congress has done to us for so long, please, I beg of you, go to the conventionofstates.com. I went over there myself and signed the it's not a survey, it's a petition in order to get that sent to my local and state leaders to try to create a convention of states, which is by Article 5 of the Constitution completely legal, and we are going to try to put Congress back in its place. So I implore you, please go over to Conventions of States, that's CONVENTIONOFSTATES.com, TATES.com. Sign that petition over there and help us out in our journey to bring America back to where America is supposed to be as a constitutional republic. I know I don't talk about politics very often on here, but this is a grassroots movement that I fully support and am fully behind. And if you agree, please, I implore you, please go over there and sign that. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get back into the fun. Like I said a moment ago, we have covered a lot of lake monsters, but now we're going to move out into the open ocean. And a couple years ago, there was something that science just scratched their heads on and are baffled. Science itself has admitted that the possibility of this cryptid is, extremely likely. Has anyone ever heard of the Big Bloop, also called Julia, interestingly enough?
Julia is the name given to the unknown source of a sound recorded on March 1st, 1999.
And here is exactly what it sounded like. I'm going to play that one more time just in case you missed it. If you did, go ahead and turn your radio up a little bit and maybe you'll hear it this time. Sounds pretty simple, right? Doesn't sound like something that would be so extraordinary. However,
it was recorded on the eastern equatorial Pacific using an autonomous hydrophone array. Heard for many thousands of kilometers, the source of the sound has been largely dismissed as an iceberg running aground somewhere off of Antarctica.
And to me, that is the equivalent of the swamp gas theory or the Venus theory in ufology, which is clearly a way to debunk something without actually having to do any work. Quite a lazy way of debunking, if you ask me. But I have no doubt in my mind that this was not a piece of ice falling off an ice shelf. Otherwise, this wouldn't be an anomaly, would it? It would be something that is quite well known, right?
What gave this story a rather chilling twist, however, is a classified image which later surfaced, a classified image later redacted, taken by a NASA satellite, which shows something with an enormous shadow within the waters of Cape Adair at the time.
So not only do we have a sound that is absolutely unknown, but the area that it is supposed to have come from also had some type of super large creature spotted on satellite at the same time.
Which, if confirmed as a living animal, would be classified as a sea monster of gigantic proportions.
And let us remember that that is coming from a source of officialdom, end quote.
The USA's National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA for short, have captured and subsequently released a number of mysterious sounds of possible underwater monsters over the past few years.
So the Big Bloop, end quote, was not a one-off event. As a matter of fact, it's one of many events that have occurred.
The upsweep is an unidentified sound detected on the American NOAA's Equatorial Autonomous Hydrophone Arrays.
XGen says, that's crazy. I work with a Julia who is a bloop. I just realized that the Julia and the Bloop actually are two separate ones. That was my misspeak. I will go ahead and own that. I don't want to confuse anybody. So that was a total separate one. We will have more information on the Bloop here in just a couple moments. But my apologies. I did get that one wrong. Dark Horse 108, you guys cracking me up over here, says, oh yeah, that sounds like Paul McCartney.
This sound was present when the Pacific Marine Environmental Laboratory began recording its sound surveillance system, SOSUS, in August 1991. It consists of a long train of narrow-band upsweeping sounds of several seconds in duration each. The source level was high enough to be recorded throughout the Pacific.
I'm going to have him go ahead and repeat that because that seems kind of important.
The source level was high enough to be recorded throughout the Pacific.
The source level, whatever made this sound, was high enough to be recorded across the entire Pacific Ocean. Now, I want you guys to think of the size of the Pacific Ocean. That had to be extremely loud or come from something really big.
The sound appears to be seasonal, generally reaching peaks in spring and autumn, but it is unclear why. The source can be roughly located at 54 degrees south, 140 degrees west, which is near the location of volcanic activity, but the location of the sound remains a mystery.
And perhaps it is volcanic activity, but luckily we have a copy of this sound too. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys listen to this and tell me what you think. Well, that definitely does not sound like any volcano that I ever heard of. Perhaps it sounds more to me like a siren, right? Like maybe there's an underground base where a siren was going off. That seems a lot more plausible to me than a volcano, just saying.
The whistle, recorded in the Mariana Volcanic Arc of the Pacific Ocean, but since it was only recorded on one hydrophone, rather than the three required to triangulate a location, it is considered unidentified.
And yes, we also have that soundbite too. Oh yeah! I'm kidding. Here's the real sound. I'm not really sure what to make of that one. I didn't hear much of a whistle, just a bunch of rumbling on that one. How about you guys? But now to the big bloop itself.
Bloop is the name given to an ultra-low frequency and extremely powerful underwater sound, detected by the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in 1997.
I would like to point out again how ironic it is that NOAA, a institutionalized organization, if you will, an officialdom, is actually coming out and saying, giving more monster reports than any commoner ever has. I can't get over the hilarity of that NOAA's giving us more reports of cryptids than anything.
The sound source was roughly triangulated to a remote point in the South Pacific Ocean, west of the southern tip of South America, and the sound was detected several times. According to the NOAA description, it rises infrequently rapidly over a duration of 1 minute, and was of sufficient amplitude to be heard on multiple sensors at a range of over 5,000 kilometers.
5,000 kilometers. Now, that's not the whole ocean, mind you, like the whole Pacific Ocean on that one, but that's still a pretty large area.
Dr. Christopher Fox does not believe its origin to be man-made, such as a submarine or bomb, nor is it familiar to geological events, such as volcanoes or earthquakes. The audio profile of Bloop does indeed resemble that of a living creature, yet the source is a mystery, both because it is different from any known sounds and because it was several times louder than the loudest ever recorded animal, the blue whale.
Now, that's interesting that even they admit it is louder than even the loudest animal we've ever found on this planet. And once again, we do have the audio bite of the sound that was recorded. Check this out. And that little sound right there was heard for over 5,000 kilometers.
Slowdown is a name given to another mysterious deep-sea sound.
Now, I'm going to be honest, the only one I knew of was the bloop. I had no idea that there was a variety of these things existent.
Recorded on May 19, 1997, in the equatorial Pacific Ocean. The name was chosen because the sound slowly decreases in frequency over a duration of 7 minutes. It was recorded using an autonomous hydrophone array. The sound has been picked up several times each year since 1997.
And once again, here is what this one actually sounds like. I don't know about you guys, but that sounds to me like an underwater airplane landing, right? Perhaps they caught a UFO moving through the water. You know, they do move at high speeds, and you can only negate physics to a certain degree, so perhaps they caught a fast walker, if you will, underwater.
And finally, the train is the name given to a sound recorded on March 5th, 1997, on the Equatorial Pacific Ocean Autonomous Hydrophone Array. The sound rises to a quasi-steady frequency. What is especially interesting about this sound is its origins, which are also within Cape Adair, the same general location as Julia. Could some of these sounds be the mating calls of unknown sea monsters? Maybe one day we will find out.
And last but not least, here is this audio recording. Well, one thing is for sure, I don't know what is causing these sounds, but I know what isn't, and it isn't any creature that we know of. And I also know that the officialdom has given us a multitude of reports of these creatures, which I find hilarious. But what do you guys think? Do you think all of these are different sea monsters that exist within our supersized oceans? I mean, if we can have the creatures we have in the lakes, these supersized sea monsters in the lakes, how far-fetched is it to think that that could happen also in the oceans? I'm not saying it's real. I'm not saying it's not. What I'm saying is all you can do is look at the evidence, apply a little common sense, and you be the judge. We got to close it out. That's right, that's it for this episode of the Dark Wolf's Den Show for Thursday, September the 9th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, the den may be closing, but don't you worry. The weekend fun has only just begun. That's right. Make sure you tune back in tomorrow, Friday, September the 10th, 2021. 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as our buddy AJ the Ripon Rabbit takes back to the airwaves with an all-new episode of the Ripon Rabbit Hole live show. That's right. On Friday, he's going to be talking about coincidence theory. We've run out of conspiracy theories. Those have all been proven to be true. So now we're going to move into the realm of coincidence theory. Something tells me they're very much alike. And that'll be on Friday, September 10th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, right here on Ripon Common Sense Radio Network. Then on Saturday, September the 11th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, AJ will be remembering. Remember that fateful day, that day we shall all never forget. I know I won't forget what happened on that day 20 years ago, 20 years on, and we're still discussing this. Do you remember? I do. And that is going to be on Saturday, September the 11th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. All shows here on the network start at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then on Sunday, September the 12th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, our buddy AJ the Ripon Rabbit will close the weekend outright with animal politics, the animal farm that is our government system right now. I don't know if you guys remember that animal farm. I know I do. And if you have an idea what we're talking about, do make sure you tune in. And if you don't, especially make sure you tune in on Sunday, September the 12th, 2021, as AJ discusses animal politics, or honestly we call it the animals of politics, but it's just the same, animal politics. And that's going to round out the weekend here on Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, the Ripon Rabbit Hole. For more fun stuff and to catch shows that we've done already that perhaps you have missed, definitely go over to the riponrabbithole.com. Have you been over there? That is RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. Yeah, over there you're going to find a large variety of fun stuff, and it'll help you all week long, besides the on demand, which you can find every episode we've ever done on demand over there on the Ripon Rabbit Hole, as well as a large variety of fun like the groups section. But to get all of that, first you got to sign up for the 24/7 Backstage Lounge Pass, the VIP Pass. That's going to get you access to all of the fun stuff back there, right? So you sign up for this pass and you're going to get access to the VIP Backstage Lounge, of course, where I'm going to be right after this show. I really hope to see a lot of you guys over there. Myself and My Life DIY had a blast in there last night, discussing a large variety of topics. Also, speaking of topics, you go over to our Down the Rabbit Hole section. When you click the Down the Rabbit Hole on the site, you're going to get a variety of different topics, like the groups section. I am going to make another group section over there for the Convention of States. I am a active member of that, as well as the Dark Wolf's Den Show group is over there, and the Lucid Dreaming group is over there, and a large variety of topics to choose from. No matter what you're into, I'm sure you will find something that you enjoy in the group section on the Ripon Rabbit Hole. Also, there's a lot of news stories that get updated on the fly, so if there's breaking news, make sure you come over to the riponrabbithole.com and check it out, as well as recipes. I know those recipes have saved my butt many times. As a matter of fact, I think I might go over there tomorrow and see what I'm going to have for dinner tomorrow night, right? It really helps me come up with a lot of great ideas. So throughout the week, if you're looking for news, entertainment, recipes, no matter what the case may be, go on over to the riponrabbithole.com. Once again, that is riponrabbithole.com. That's right. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to head on over to the 24/7 Backstage Lounge right now. I hope to see all of you over there. I'm Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. You've been listening to the Dark Wolf's Den radio show exclusively on Ripon Common Sense Radio. And on behalf of AJ the Ripon Rabbit, Michael Musco, Chick Mandela Effect, Walt House, Tom Bayless, and Red Shed Studios for this incredible music. Get down with it, Tom. Tell me that isn't cool. If you're looking for a custom soundtrack for your next project, make sure you check out Red Shed Studios. Links in the description. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of all these folks, as well as our amazing mod team over there in the chat, once again, my name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And remember, until next time, stay awake, but dare to dream. Good night, everybody. Yeah, that's right. Tell me that isn't some awesome music. Good night, everybody. We will be back next Wednesday with an all-new episode of the Dark Wolf's Den Radio Show. We'll see you all then. Bye, everyone.
Unlocked and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever What a widow, a peaceful spider, when the glass glasses queen, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.